whenever we start giving importance to all that we have as of now, be it the smallest gifts of life, once we cultivate an attitude of respecting the very oxygen that we breathe and being thankful for the oxygen that we breathe, you must know that it's the greatest source of power. It is the most smartest thing that you can do in your life. The greatest source of blessings which can come into a human life is gratitude. Gratitude is that energy source of the universe, of eternal life, which empowers our soul, which empowers our being, which empowers our energies to abundance. When we are being grateful on a primal sense for the very oxygen that we breathe, for the water that we drink, and for the basic systems of life which keeps us alive, we are being empowered by the great source of life. You must know that gratitude is the greatest weapon that you can have to attract blessings. Gratitude in its primal form, not just like an act of trickery. Today's ways of gratitude is a kind of tricks used by people, by us, to get more, forgetting that the primal sense of gratitude for the very basic sense of why we are living is the ultimate gift of life that we can give ourselves. The breath of fresh air, of blessings flowing into our life. There was a king 7,000 years ago, and he had given two people very important tasks to get done on earth. And this king had nearly 25% of the earth for himself. His father, the emperor, had conquered vast areas with his huge armies. And nearly 25% of the earth was the territory of the king. So the king told one of his advisors and managers, who happened to be a woman of extreme knowledge, of the best intellect, of clarity of mind, of balance of spirit, to manage nearly 50% of his kingdom. And he gave another person also who was very bright, had the same intellect, had the knowledge systems, who had the wisdom to manage another 50% of his kingdom. And the king thought to himself that I will see that who is doing the best kind of job in terms of managing my extremely vast kingdom, which is 25% of the earth during those times. And the lady did the best job in managing his kingdom. She made sure that the forest, the sea, the land life, the buildings, the architecture, the flowering trees, the forest, the garden, the animals, the birds, were all a part of the kingdom. She devised ways and means by which each of these elements of life, the life-giving energies of her earth, balanced out the commerce, balanced out the new businesses that were built. Each of the business that she wanted to be developed within the area she was managing, which was one of the greatest areas on earth. She had a clear system of ecological living, ecological conservation, areas of forests, areas for the trees, the birds. The greatest of cities she built within those areas, which had the best of flowering gardens. Now, while she was managing her kingdom, there arose a time when there was no rains within the kingdom. It was a kind of past time when there was a kind of drought. Now everyone within the kingdom was in a despicable situation because the water source was the only blessing which could maintain the life form of the kingdom. The basic energy system of the kingdom which gave life was the oxygen and the water. And if there was no rains, it would be extremely hard to manage the kingdom in the right way. Now, this very intellectual lady who was managing the kingdom was in a very dire strait. And she called all of her advisors also and had a kind of meeting. It's not like the corporate meetings that we have today, but it was more of a meeting of the wisest men and women of the kingdom to come up with solutions for the drought-ridden area of her kingdom. And some of the advisors told them that even though there are no rains as of now, we can dig wells, was one of the solutions. The other solution was to take the water from the rivers and construct channels. Today, they did not have the piping system that we have today, but they used to create channels of water moving from one territory to the other. The other was an idea of trying to get water from the sea and filter out the salt and get pure water out of the sea and then distribute it in different parts of the kingdom. Now, when they went through all of these aspects of getting rains or trying to get into a system by which they can manage the kingdom irrespective of the droughts, one of the best solutions they came up was to dig wells within the kingdom and also replenish those wells by planting as many trees as possible in all areas. And also was to tap from the rivers and channel the rivers into the kingdom so that the agricultural systems could flourish. There could be enormous crops, the best of crops, which included the basic systems of life, which was the rice, the maize, the wheat, the vegetables, the fruits. All of this needed water, and the rivers of the kingdom was the source by which they could direct the tributaries and create channels for irrigating the part of a kingdom. So all of this was the solution, which included channeling some of the water from the sea to areas which were quite close to the sea and using a very unique filtration system of their time. They were able to distill out the salt and use the salt as a different means and also get the water from the sea. And they used all of the thinking to get irrigation systems all across the areas which they managed. And even though there were droughts, the kingdom still started to flourish. They were able to irrigate parched lands, which also was kind of like the desert. Move water from different channels into areas which did not have water. Because this was a test for the lady who wanted to manage the kingdom in the right way, along with the energies of the earth. On the other hand, the other minister who was managing 50% of the other kingdom had a clear intention to create the best of trade systems within his kingdom, the best of architecture, not thinking about the gardens or the forests or the aqua life or the trees or the animals. He was more into creating buildings, building the best of commerce, building the best of ships, building the best of ports. But when this drought came, the areas which he was managing could not survive because water was the basic source of anything that could be done into the future. Even he called his cabinet, and because he did not do the preparations along with the energies of the earth, his kingdom, which he was managing, the 50% of this area, started to deplete. It was all about creating a name about himself. It was all about running after wealth and creating great wealth for his kingdom. But in running after wealth, he lost everything that he could manage because he did not respect the basic energies of life. Now the king, seeing the management of the two people, the woman and this man, decided that the kingdom could no longer be managed by this individual who was all about himself and running behind money and wealth and trying to create just wealth for his kingdom. He gave vast resources to the woman and also gave management of the entire area to this woman to manage the land. Now this will be the system of education that we should have even in this present generation. Once we respect the basic systems of life, it is the very essence of our soul, it's the very essence of our life. Being with the energies of the universe which sustains life, being with the oxygen is the very reason that we are living. The moment we are trying to just run behind wealth or money, it is the most foolish thing at a primal sense. Once we enhance the oxygen, once we create business systems which enhances the oxygen, the water, the rains, the rivers, the forests, in an indirect way also, it just might not be directly that we are working. It can be the best of irrigation systems, the best of wind power, the best of roads along with nature, the best of infrastructure along with nature, the best of buildings with eco spaces, all of our industries within green belts of lands which are also beautiful to watch. All of the buildings, the greatest of structures on earth, having the best of beautiful flowering gardens, the best of greenery. These are just examples of prosperity in its true primal sense, which also is today. Even in this present times and also into the future, this will be only a mark of prosperity, true prosperity, with the energies of the earth, which sustain life, the source code of life. Let's replenish our earth.
The dirtiest of dirt is cleansed by the best quality of cleaning acid. The most treacherous of people who have a mind of a snake is countered by the same species of snake which might be larger. The venom of a snake, when it is diluted and used in its essence, is countered to use the venom against the snake's bite on humans, which means that the snake's venom itself, when it's diluted and given as an antidote, then it provides life. It saves the life of an individual bitten by a snake. So in the same way, we must replenish our earth and counter vermin energies which affects the oxygen that we breathe, the water that we drink, with the same energy. We cannot keep talking about goodness and then have snakes and other vermin energies acting on us, and we must have defenses. And as we mentioned before, the defense of a country is that dark energy which can fight against snakes. It's that same venom of a snake which is used to counter the bite of a snake. It's the same energy of a vermin which is used to counter the vermin energies. We cannot counter a vermin energy with any other energy. It has to be countered with the same energy, and that's where the defense lies. That's where the weapons of defense of a country for its protection lies. That's where the law enforcement takes hold of vermin energies and puts them in the right track, in the right places, so that the majority of people can live along with their energies of the own oxygen, which gives them life, with the life-nourishing water, the clean and clear water, and all of the energy systems, not just for the present generations, but also for the future generations. Let's replenish our earth.
As a human, it is very natural to have all sides, which means that people might be good, bad, or even a kind of ugly in their nature. And then individuals will have all of these qualities together. But what makes the difference is that the good enhances all of the other qualities, which means that if you take in percentage terms, it should be at least 70% of a personality to be along with the source good of life. But as a human instinct, we have that instinct to be for the carnal self, which predates back 50,000 years ago, which includes the bad and the ugly parts of being a predatory animal, being obsessed with the body and flesh alone. And as we've understood that the evolution of humans, the modern humans, are with the source code of life. And the only difference between us and any other species is because we have creativity. And as a personality of good, bad and ugly, when we have at least 70% of our personality along with the source code of life with a clear purpose, then that kind of personality permeates all aspects of your being and will absolve the bad and ugly characters, which is present in the instinct of every human. So you cannot have a completely total saint on earth as a human. It's a combination of these factors, but the only difference is your clear direction to work along with the source code of the goodness of our own oxygen. There was a traveler who traveled on a donkey around 13,000 years back. He traveled using a donkey in all kinds of places. The donkey was the greatest machine of the time to carry loads for him. But he also made sure that the donkey was looked after. The donkey was fed well, because the donkey was the only kind of transport within the cities. For an average man, the horses were very expensive, taken away by the kings and the royalty. And for the common man, the donkey was the means of transport and the only way by which they could survive, trade, move goods, was using the donkey in a very good sense, which means that they made sure that the donkey was comfortable. They made sure that the donkey was not ill-treated. They made sure that there were a kind of architecture to put the goods in both sides of the donkey, and so that it's fed well and moved. Certain kilometers, and after that they had another donkey to carry the load in case it was too much. So the basic essence of the technology of those times of moving goods were only using animals. But the only difference was to treat those animals well. And this person understood that treating his donkey well and being able to carry goods for the traders, carry the produce that he had made within his agricultural harvest, along with organic agriculture, using different donkeys to carry the loads of produce, vegetables, fruits, which were cultivated organically. And the only technology available to the normal man 13,000 years ago was the donkey. But the only difference was that they looked after the donkey well. And in turn, the donkey helped those people. It was not enslaved. The donkey was not enslaved. The donkey was not maltreated. The donkey was looked after well because it was a great source of inspiration for the business. And also the person understood that the donkey had the energies also. A normal donkey also had the energies to help his business, the organic trade, which the person had 13,000 years ago. If the donkey was being maltreated, it would in turn affect the business, because it was the psychology of being along with the source code of life. When you're with your own oxygen, be it any kind of animal, be it any kind of insect, you will treat it well. If they are with you, if they are supporting the source code of our own oxygen, the source code of life, the source code of everything that we do, today and into the future. Today we have the greatest of technologies. The donkeys have predated, and then we've had the horse cart carriages to carry enormous loads, the war machines of 5,000, 10,000 years ago, of conquests, of kings, emperors, who were behind the carnal desires alone, was in terms of transporting through horses, and the greatest of carriages, and the greatest of distances, including nearly a quarter of the earth. Some of the emperors conquered a quarter of the earth, and they would summon their ministers and tell them to bring all of the gold for them to inspect, and it would be done within a matter of days. But what is the end game of the last day of the emperor, as we have understood before? The end game of his life was only if he was along with the source code of life, if he had contributed to the future generations in the present, if he had made the best of architecture, along with the wealth that he had made, along with the source code of life, the energy systems of the universe. If he had constructed the best of gardens, the best of palaces along with nature, the best of infrastructure which also helped the citizens, the best of management systems for his kingdom, so that the people also were looked after well, they also were prosperous. And some of the greatest emperors during the time made sure that the people whom they managed had everything in terms of food, water, shelter, and basic education, and a kind of quality life. And they were respected, and we remember some of the greatest emperors today, not because they made the wealth for themselves, but because they had contributed during those times for the future generations, and in doing the best in terms of architecture, maintaining the forests, the ecosystems, the gardens, the flowers, the birds, the animals, and the total ecosystem of life. They made sure that their system of administration is also remembered today. Any advancement of future, we have preceded the donkeys, we have preceded the horses, we have preceded the yacht ships. Today's ships are nuclear powered ships. Also, in terms of the greatest ships on earth, it can travel the greatest of distances, conquer the greatest of territories, which are the greatest of hindrances, which includes the Antarctica and the ice-covered regions of the earth. Ships of today can carry tens and thousands of people, enormous loads, exports, weighing tens and 100,000 tons and more, carrying oil, coiling minerals, iron, steel across the world, the basics of every building that you see today. Since we have moved our technologies into the present, into the greatest systems of transport, preceding the donkeys from 13,000 years ago, we will move with greater technologies into the future. The technologies in the future would carry the greatest of weights on the sea to large distances and with a greater pace of speed. They could also move across on the air, across the sky. The greatest and heaviest of machineries as we see today will be quadrupled, at least 10 times and more in terms of weights being carried across the world. There will be new technologies emerging in terms of transport, in terms of construction, design, and any kind of scientific evolution, including biotechnology, including the systems of entertainment that we see today, including our navigational systems and every kind of technology which is going to be useful for humans will be only those technologies which respect the source code of life, which respect our own oxygen as of today. Once we move our technologies with our basic systems of life, we are working in the present for the future, and doing so, we are one with the eternity of time. Let's replenish our earth. Let's understand that in the years ahead, 50 years, 100 years, and more, humans will be much more about their self-awareness along with technology. Movement from one place to the other, either by walking or running or by vehicle, by train, air, ship, will not matter. Getting anything done on earth would be possible at the palm of your hands to a large degree. We would also be able to see other worlds, experience other worlds, not just by the television, but also by a complete set of awareness through headsets, through audio visuals, also kinds of feelings of the area. Be it any place of the world you could travel to, the most touristic parts of the world, the most amazing, beautiful places of the world. You can also travel to the most adventurous places of the world, the most dangerous kinds of places of the world, where you might find it difficult to go physically. Even as of now, today, technologies are present by which you can get into a 3-dimensional image, 5-dimensional image of the place you want to be through the headsets, through your vision, through the 3D glasses, 5D glasses, through the programs. But what I'm talking about is 50 years to 100 years. It will not be an option for humans in the sense that it is scarce. Everyone will have the option, provided they want to experience life, to experience the best of places on earth, just from anywhere and from the residence. At a comfortable place, they will be able to experience the best of places, the best of flights, the best of trains, the most adventurous of places, the most dangerous of places, being with the most harshest of conditions, except that it will just be an experience for the time being. It will not be an immersive, physical, harsh experience. So all of these experiences will be available to humans within their minds along with technologies, which is at the starting and nascent stages as of now. So irrespective of human movement, people will be able to accomplish most of the tasks on their phones. So human movement will be more in tune of getting to do things, meeting people, creating relationships, getting the physical aspects of connecting with other humans by traveling. That will be the major factor. Traveling in terms of business trips will be more for a human level of engagement, not because the business that cannot be done otherwise. Through teleconferencing, through updated systems of knowledge which will evolve much more than teleconferencing. We will have the greatest of advancements so that we could see each other just like being in the same room and experience much better than a physical experience. But the concept of human touch, the concept of being together with other humans will still prevail as long as we have the physique and the abilities of a human. But once we sync ourselves with technologies, we will move in advanced stages of communication. And human movement will be just to help our human emotions connect with other individuals on a physical level. Now with these kinds of technologies which will evolve just 50, 100 years and more, we must understand some of the technologies which will evolve 100 and 200 years from today. It might look a bit, it might seem a bit, it might feel a bit lunatic to explain about those technologies into the future, because the sense of advancements of our technologies are leapfrogging, quadrupling in just 5 years. What happened in the past 500,000 years can happen just in 5 years. So just to predict 100 or 200 years into the future might look a bit lunatic, because our advancement would be such a level that our human minds are not being able to comprehend the future that is in store for us. But the future that is in store for us, be it traveling to the farthest of planets, seeing other species of life, creating lives in other planets which might be having much better resources in terms of creating life, nurturing life, and enhancing life in other planets. We will be able to do all of this. But advancements only can be with the source code of our own oxygen that we breathe as of now. The life systems of our Earth will help us advance and create a better future for the unborn generations. Let's replenish our Earth. When you see some of the best professionals in the world, it seems as to what they do is absolutely very simple. You see, the best of surgeons perform a surgery. The more experience they have, the more simple it becomes for them. They might be doing the greatest of heart surgery, by which a small mistake or a small movement of the hand might mean life and death for the patient. But when they are into the job, and when they have the experience, and when we call them professionals in their field, it means that they make the task very simple. The best of musicians in the world, the greatest of musicians, when you watch them, when they sing, when they play the instrument, it seems very simple. It seems everyone can copy them. And people with a low intellect, to some extent, just think that they can just copy anything for that matter. They see a professional doing things in a very simple way. And the foolishness of us, of some of us, and also within our human species, people who do not respect professionalism, people who do not value their own skills. If we do not value our own skills, we will think that any professional is just doing something and he's getting an income, he's getting lots of returns for doing just something. The greatest musician in the world, when a person without real value for their skill watches them, he just thinks, oh, what this person is just doing. He's just playing the guitar and millions of people are giving him money. He's just singing a song in a different way and he's earning millions. Why can't I just do that? It might be a bit funny, but this is the kind of people we have on earth. It is also within our intellect not to value skills. They go out on the street and they see very good architects and very beautiful buildings being built. And then they think, why can't I also? In modern times, as of now, we see the skates by which people used to move on the streets. And especially within the youngsters, it is one of the most sought after and exciting ways to move about. The skates help them to move around their surroundings the most easiest, fastest and the most efficient way. And also it is a kind of sport like experience while even moving from one place to the other. Instead of just walking or spending extreme energy on running, which is not the right thing to do in a public setting when you want to move fast. The skates help the youngsters move at a very fast pace and reach their destinations, or just for an experience of strolling across the streets in a fast pace and also enjoying the surroundings, the nature. Now, when people are walking on the street and when a skate just passes by much faster than their walk speed, it might be quite usual for people to feel a bit jealous as to why they will not be able to move on the skates in a very fast, efficient and also enjoy the sport-like experience. Now, when people have the time in leisure and while they were walking, the skate is such that you need a bit of experience to move on the skates. You need a bit of training initially to move on the skates. And also it is about the mind frame. For certain individuals, especially people who have crossed certain age, it is not just about the physical limits, but also the limits of the minds to get retrained, to get on the skates and experience a new way of life, a new way of commuting, a new way of moving on the streets, provided the streets are having those flat areas by which the skate can move. Normally a skate does not go on surfaces which are uneven. So the government or the administration of those areas have developed cities across the world with pathways for skates and the ability of humans to learn new ways of travel, even in the small and the basic way of travel is what makes us move with evolution. Once our minds are conditioned to walk in a certain way, and if you have used this kind of experience, it will be very difficult for us to move into the path of a skate. But once we shake ourselves out of our comfort zones and embrace the spirit of a skate to move through the surface in the fastest of pace, and also get the right kind of balance, and also enjoy the process of moving on a skate, be it at the street, be it at the park, be it on a normal stroll. It gives us the greatest of pleasures in the smallest of ways in life. This helps us understand that the smallest gifts of life is what helps us move with the energies of the earth which sustain life. Once we know that all of our abilities are in sync with the source code of life, we must have that urge to create new ways of travel, maybe, just like the small skate, or much better ways. Each of us must have the ability to create something within this world so that the future generations would be helped. And in doing so, we will create small inventions just like the skate, which is creating a revolution in the way people just commute and walk across the world. Our small inventions, along with the creative source code of life, will bring a new vitality into the world, in today's world and also into the future for the unborn generations. Let's replenish our earth. We must understand that anything about being, in terms of success in life, is about attitude and the right definition of success. When we talk about being with the energies of our universe which sustain life, with our dedication, with our purpose, and with a clear-minded approach, we are bound to be successful. Now, on the other hand, if you're working from any kind of energy which is other than the universal source of life, we have in fact, in essence, moved our thinking, the internal processes of our thought patterns, the vibration of our thought patterns, which attracts circumstances, individuals, occasions, and the end result of the thought patterns within our mind will attract all kinds of events which is not with the source code of life, which is not with our own oxygen. So when we talk about having the right thought patterns, it's about conditioning the mind along with the source code of life which provides us our own oxygen. And the best possible time will be right from the time of the inception of the womb. The parents, once they have the right kind of attitude with the source code of their own oxygen that they breathe, the water that they drink, and every system of life which includes the rains, the rivers, the waters, the mountains, and as we mentioned before, and all of the life systems. Once the parents are in any kind of dedicated purpose to work in the present for the future, in any kind of field of work, any kind of company, their approach, their attitude, their dealings with people, their environment will be such that it is along with the energies of our earth which sustain life. And when a mother is carrying an infant from the first cell to the various stages of evolution of a human being, and then outside of the womb, the child will grow in an environment which is in a friendly nature along with its own oxygen, along with the source code of life. So when we talk about having the right mindset, it's about conditioning our mind. If our minds are not conditioned to be along with the source code of life, it will be conditioned by circumstance. And the instinct of humans to a large degree is to around 50,000 years ago. In terms of a caveman, we've talked about the evolution of humanity and understanding that we are along with the creative source of the universal energy in minute forms has only occurred during the past 10,000, 15,000 maximum years. But that was in very minute stages. If you see the history of humanity, the carnal instinct has predated human instinct. Although humans had the creative abilities for more than 20,000 years, as we understand, it was a slow process of evolution. But still, the carnal instincts of the caveman took hold. And then you saw wars between tribes, trying to kill each other, capture each other's territory. You saw kings across the world moving with their carnal instincts, trying to get everything for themselves, about their name, and at the end of the day, they lost all kinds of meaning of their lives. The kings, the greatest of emperors, the greatest of queens and empresses, the greatest of rulers on earth, whom we respect, whom we admire, whom we try to emulate in terms of history and teach our children, is about individuals in history who have contributed along with the source code of their own oxygen, who have maintained the best of gardens with the kingdom, the best of infrastructure. They contributed in their present during those times for the benefit of the society. And in doing so, they help the future generations, and the future generations remembers them as of now also. We remember in the Indian subcontinent some of the kings, Ashoka the Great, Chandragupta Maurya, who worked along with the energies of the earth. We remember the Roman kings, who worked along with the energies of the earth and sustained life, who built the best of palaces along with nature, the best of gardens, the best of infrastructure across the world. The Qingjian dynasty within China, who evolved with the glorious natural landscape. The discoveries during that time was along with the source code of life, which brought abundance to the kingdom. The Romanovs of Russia, the Byzantinians. We can go to different examples. The Persians, who we remember are people who have contributed in those times for those generations in terms of evolution of life along with the source code of their own oxygen and all of the life systems. And in doing so, they help the future generations also in terms of ideas. But when we come to the creative source of humans, we must understand the carnal instinct kind of overpowered many of our times, and even to our present generation. The carnal instincts sometimes go much more than the creative aspects of humans. Once we understand our evolution of being humans is to be with the source code of life through creativity, we will have all our problems, all of our discoveries, all of our present misdeeds rectified. And in doing so, and conditioning our thought patterns right from the education of a child, we will move along with the source code of life. We will know that we are not living for ourselves. It is not all about us on the last day of our lives. It is a contribution in our present, in everything that we have acquired, in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, in terms of wealth. Be it from any stage of evolution of humans, from any strata of society, the last day will be a count of how useful your life was to the other beings on earth. What you have contributed in the present for the future. And on the last day, your life will have all kinds of meaning when you pass away from your body. Because the body is just a vehicle. In the timestamp of history, millions and billions of people have come and gone through evolution of history. All of them have become a part of the dust of the earth. But people whom we remembered are those people who contributed in those times, in our present times, for the future of the future generations. Let's replenish our earth.
What are some of the most important aspects of life? What do we want as we go through different stages in life, different age, times within our human lives? And different people have different objectives within life. And during the age of 0 to 10 is usually the stage of growing up, and it's more to do with learning. It's more to do with acquiring knowledge through a playful activity of a child. A child usually gets up, falls down, while it learns to walk.
And over a period of time, around 3 to 4 years, it learns to walk, get upon its 2 feet. Then it learns the other knowledges of life, the most essential tricks to some extent, so that it can survive within the world. It acquires the knowledge so that it can get what it wants from the stage of an infant to around 10 years old. It's a stage of intense learning through mistakes. And then from 10 to 20 years, it's also a time of learning, but in a different aspect of life. Once a child has acquired the minimum knowledge to walk and go through the ages from 0 to 10. From 10 to 20, it's more to do with acquiring knowledge for interacting with the daily activities of life, interacting with people, interacting with small business dealings, interacting with friends, neighbors. And during this time, it's the time of the parents or people who are in charge of taking care of the child to give it the right kind of knowledge. And 20 to 30 years, it acquires more advanced interpersonal skills, knowledge in terms of what the child is educated, in terms of their calling in life, in terms of their experiences and their motivation in life. Different professions are chosen to be studied in case they are pursuing a higher level of education, or also the basic graduation level of education. Even at this stage, the child has reached adolescent and has moved into a stage of becoming an adult. And this is the stage when the experiences of from 0 to 10 and 20 to 10 to 20 reflect on the child's learning and the adolescent stage, going through college or going through different work environments in the initial stages of learning, to a kind of experience in what the child does in a kind of experienced way towards the end of the 20s. And from 30 to 40 is the time when they are completely kind of equipped in the normal sense of the word, by which they can move into the world and also work on a purpose. Now the whole stage of learning of children and also the adolescent stage and to an adult is only defined by a clear purpose with their own oxygen that they breathe. Any kind of purpose which a child follows from 0 to 10 and 10 to 20 and 20 to 30 without a clear purpose with the universal source code of life or all of the life systems which sustain us would be completely negative, will work against the own oxygen that the child breathes. So the only purpose in life, in terms of education, in any field, be it at the ground level, at the training level, at the greatest of professions on earth, at the highest levels, it has only meaning when we work along with the source code of our own oxygen, the source code which sustains every life form on earth. Let's replenish our earth. What are the best resources in life that we can find which would be the greatest opportunity for us to move with the source code of life and find goodness in the life that we have and also have a clear meaning in our lives? Is the resources only money? Is the resources only wealth? Is the resources only knowledge? Or is it the combination of all of this? But what is the prime ingredient? The prime ingredient is our attitude. Without the right kind of attitude along with our own oxygen that we breathe, all of the resources that we have will not be useful for us in the right sense of the energies of the universe which sustain life. And if it's not with our own oxygen, it means that we're going towards complete depletion of life. So any kind of resources which come into your life by chance, through hereditary factors, by luck, or also by working towards it, must be from the
prime source code of the goodness that we feel when we breathe the oxygen or drink the water, or when we move about and feel the breeze, the rains, the harvest, the lakes, the rivers, the trees, the flowering plants, the gardens. So once we are with the energies of life, the resources we have will have all kinds of meaning, and then our lives will have a clear purpose. And also, we are moving with the goodness of life. The very reason that we are breathing the best of oxygen and thriving or evolving or surviving is because of the goodness of the universal life systems, the life systems of the earth. So the resources we have, even on the minute degree or also on the highest degree, from the smallest place of resource, which might be just some kind of knowledge to move with the source code of life, or helping people from the ground basic stage or as a trainee, and into the highest of professions, and also with the greatest of wealth. Everything depends on our attitude, our motivation to work along with the goodness of our own oxygen. And when we do so, even the minute resources will be multiplied enormously by different miraculous ways. You see certain companies who get into the right field to solve problems for n number of people, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,000,000. Once they have moved with the right spirit, with the right direction, with the right guidance, with the source code of life of their own oxygen and of the energy systems to solve a problem, maybe electricity for using renewable energies. As you know now, some of the greatest industries in the world are about renewable energies. It's also cleansing the world. We have had a mindset that anything to do with cleaning and cleansing is not very attractive, but at the core of it, evolution is all about cleansing. It's about generations coming and then moving and another generation coming. You know, the earth sustains every generation for millions of years. It's a type of recycling system, and the cleanliness system of the earth is one of the most important factors in sustaining life for future generations. I'm just quoting examples. So be it in any profession, once we are dedicated, along with the core central purpose of working with the energies of life, we will make the right decisions. We will have the right kind of attitude. We will be more compassionate to people, because we are breathing with the goodness of the own oxygen that everyone breathes. We are coming to the basics of life. We are getting into a kind of humility, and we are understanding that everyone is connected in some way or form, and no matter what wealth we have, we will start to use it along with the source code of life. And even if we do not have any wealth, money or education or whatever it is, we will work with people and help them. And in turn, we will be blessed on earth because we are working with the source code of abundance of our universe, of our earth. As we have understood that everything about our universe is about abundance. There are millions of stars, there are millions of planets. And it's only humans, as we know, have created limitations. But there are limitations in terms of our abilities. But once we are working with the energies which sustain our universe, and on our personal sense, our environment, our surroundings, our trees, our life systems, the gardens, the forests, the flowers, the rains, then we are coming to that central force of life which manages the universe. And we have a meaning in the eternal source code of the universal force. We're working in the present for the future, and in doing so, we are being blessed in today and for the future, by which the future generations remember us. Rest. Let's be a beacon of hope for the present times. Let's get into win-win situations in our agreements, in our way of work.
It's not about someone losing and then someone gaining. It's about both parties getting into agreements which work along with the energies of the earth, be it companies, be it any field of work. And in doing so, we're helping today's life systems, we're helping nourish the energy systems of life today and helping the future unborn generations. Let's replenish our earth. One of the world's wealthiest people, around just 15-20 years back, had all of the resources in terms of wealth. He had the highest rating in the stock markets in terms of investments. This was the time of the dot-com era, when anyone could start a company with a dot-com business and then list it on the internet and then have a purpose, and then a lot of people used to invest. And this person invested in a lot of potential looking dot-com companies with very high valuations. Now, as we know that there was a time when the dot-com was absolutely in its heights. Everyone wanted a piece of the well-known dot-com companies in terms of information technology. There were a lot of wrong players who put up companies just for the sake of gaining money from the stock markets and mentioned certain kinds of purposes. And this person, who was the world's richest, invested in some of the well-known dot-com companies in terms of the information they had and in terms of how the market reacted to the dot-com companies in terms of valuation, putting up exorbitant valuations of the time in a sense of euphoria because the stock markets were going up because of the dot-com evolution. Then came a time when the dot-com companies, without a clear purpose, along with the energies of the earth which sustain life, started to collapse. The dot-com companies, which were made just for making money, with a clear intention of just trying to gain wealth, started to collapse. There were hardly very few companies who moved as the dot-com companies and who had a meaning in the essence of life, of the energy systems of our earth. They were in minuscule, in a very minute degrees. But this person, the world's richest, went by the valuations of the stock markets, went by the euphoria. And he was valued at the greatest wealth generated on earth at one time. And then the dot-com stock market started to collapse. And when the stock markets of the dot-com companies, which were valued and listed on the greatest exchange of the world, started to collapse, the world's richest person during the time who had invested in these dot-com companies started to lose enormous amounts of wealth. He also had investments, as we understood, in terms of taking more of investments for a minute share, which means that leveraging. And the greatest investor and the most recognized investor in the world, within a period of a week, lost nearly 99% of his wealth, which was more than $100 billion during the time. And $100 billion during the time is equal to nearly $500 billion today. Just imagine a person losing $500 billion just in a matter of a week from the stock markets. Now, how did he lose this amount of money? It was his vision and also the euphoria in the stock markets created about .com companies going to be the next Jenny of gold emitting companies. And even though the greatest investor and the most sought after wise person in the investment community could not resist the urge of the euphoria in the markets. But then what saved him was those companies which he invested, which were along with the source code of life, which were working in the present for the future generations. The energy systems, the energy systems of life, which provides the basics of infrastructure to humans, the basics of information technology, which provides support to the other companies, to the other IT companies who are working on a hysteria, the basic ground root companies which sustained all of the other companies were his saving grace, and that was just 5% of his portfolio. He lost 95% of his investments, billions, $100 billions of dollars. But what saved him was that ground basics, the foundation of companies which sustained other companies in working in the present for the future. Such should be our investment. We should invest. We should work in companies, in work, in lifestyles, in traditions, in our way of thinking, with the ground basics of why we survive on earth. And once we invest in the greatest of companies, the greatest of information technology, which help the ground basics of the oxygen that we breathe, the rain systems, the cultivation, the basic information technology, which will advance with the quantum computers, and also the biological system of evolution, which does not need much power, which will be the future of all advancements of technology. We will move into the source code of life. And just like the greatest investor who lost everything but still had just 5% of his companies invested in the ground basic which saved him, and those 5% of ground basic companies which provided life to all of the other companies saved him, and he again made sure that he invested in such kind of companies, in such kind of startups who moved along with the energies of the earth. And now he has recovered, and still he is known as one of the greatest investors. Was a figure who was looked upon 20 or 25 years ago. He lost everything, but again he's recovered. He has made sure that he will move along with the energies of the earth. But in terms of investments, in terms of attitude, as humans, even the greatest of investors can make mistakes even today. They can go off track. Any kind of investments, from the greatest of billionaires or from the smallest of investors, must be only with the source code of their life, of their own oxygen. And in doing so, they tap into the greatest resource of the universe. The greatest resource of the universe which sustains all life. The source code of goodness of our earth. The source code of our oxygen, water and every life system. Let's replenish our earth. We must understand that the Indian subcontinent has moved from thousands of years of evolution of history, which is recorded in the Vedas. And the initial cradle of the Indian subcontinent is recorded in history. The greatest of service in terms of science, technology, in terms of the understanding of the human body, science, medicine, yoga, Ayurveda, is one of the greatest contributions of the Indian subcontinent from the past. Now we must also understand through history that the Indian subcontinent was subjugated over a period of time because it was segregated among different states, and the human carnal instinct from other nations could take over and also exploit the resources, the knowledge systems, and subjugate the subcontinent, which included the neighboring countries, also of India. Now, with a clear system of knowledge from the past, we will be able to evolve our kind of thinking into the new age. We understand the Indian subcontinent was the cradle of civilization. It was from where some of the greatest knowledge systems were born. In terms of science, technology, in terms of biotechnology of the times, in terms of administrative systems from the Indus Valley and beyond, in terms of the greatest of scientific discoveries in health through Ayurveda, in terms of the ways of life to live along with the harmony and the energy systems of the earth through yoga, which is being followed by a vast number of countries across the world. And it's kind of become the sense of balance to go to yoga according to the understanding of different people, societies across the world. And as the cradle of knowledge of the world, and also the Indian subcontinent, as we understand, was also the epicenter of business over thousands of years. People from across the world, traders from across the world, traded in spices, gold, diamonds. Now we must understand as to why the region was subjugated for a long time. We cannot blame any country because it's a natural human tendency to follow the carnal desires. And it was the system of the time that countries, kings, because of the carnal desires and because of the basic knowledge system of the time, which was kind of depleted, a king or an emperor or a country would plunder another country and take those resources. And then from that country, another country would take the resources. And then a lot of systems, countries on earth were being managed on a depleted mindset. Today, through the knowledge of history, we know that we need to protect the Indian subcontinent. We have the right kind of defenses. We must protect the knowledge systems which was gained thousands of years ago and improve on it. The worship of the energy systems of the country, the greatest worship of a religion, of any faith, is to respect the source code of life, the gift of the earth, the gift of knowledge for that region. And the Indian subcontinent, the true worship is to enhance the knowledge systems of the great sages, of the knowledges of the Vedas, of the greatest administrators of the kingdom, of the greatest gifts that the area of the continent has given to the world. As we understood that it is through yoga, Ayurveda, sciences, technologies, administrative systems, a lot of inventions. And there was a period of time when that area was subjugated, and that's the only reason for it to happen, for the area being subjugated, the continent being subjugated, was because there was no strong defense. Today we have that defense system. And the greatest worship, the greatest religious reverence that we can have is to have respect for the knowledge systems established and cultivate on those knowledge systems. Create better yoga systems so that the whole population of the earth would come into a more balanced way of living along with the energies of the earth. The greatest of systems of medicine in terms of Ayurveda, greater understanding, greater in-depth knowledge of the herbs, which was studied by the greatest of saints and the sages thousands of years ago. Today it can be developed into further greatest of medicines which work with the natural rhythms of the earth to help protect the body. Now when we are developing the greatest of systems according to the knowledge systems of the Indian subcontinent. It does not mean that we do not take in ideas, we do not take in knowledge, we do not take aspects of cultures of other places of the earth, other traditions. It means that we have reached a stage of knowledge by which we are able to accept, we are able to amalgamate our traditions, our cultures, our knowledge system along with the Western thinking in terms of their best discoveries, in terms of the best which they can offer and which we can amalgamate. It will be a combination of getting the best from every society on earth and amalgamating it into the basic foundation of the Indian knowledge systems. The foundation must be about the history of contributions, which dates back to tens and thousands of years and which is being developed today, and we've taken the best from other societies, countries, people. We encourage them to work along with us. And this will be the mantra for the future in terms of discoveries, in terms of science, in terms of evolution, in terms of biotechnology, in terms of the quantum computers, and also developing new realms of knowledge of computing, which uses the human biology itself as the example of creating the best of systems in physics, chemistry, biology. As we know that the human body has billions of cells working in unison, and it's a different technology in some sense resembles the quantum computing technologies. We will get back into the biological systems of development of nanotechnologies, which does not need much of energy. Today, the systems of knowledge have reached a stage by which deep learning requires nuclear powered reactors to maintain the energy required in different areas of the world. In different islands of the world, countries are taking up islands to develop nuclear reactors to power the requirement of energy. The Indian subcontinent has created systems by which they were able to understand the human biology. Tens and thousands of years ago, they were able to understand the human cells. And our system of knowledge of development in science, technology, and any kind of information technology, which includes the greatest of deep learning, will move into a system of the human cell biology. And seeing that as an example, we will create the greatest systems of knowledge without the need of much power. And as we understand it is already happening, the initial seeds of development of biological systems of evolution have already started to happen in all fields of science and technology. This will be the greatest example to set for today in terms of our advancements of our technology, in terms of the quality of life of individuals, in terms of health, wealth, and spiritual goodness, which is not just for the continent, but is also a win-win approach. We understand that the Indian subcontinent was subjugated. But instead of being subjugated, if the people of those times, if those administrators of those times, if the kings of those times had a clear purpose to work on a win-win approach, they would not have depleted the Indian subcontinent. They would have taken the best in terms of the Indian subcontinent, worked along with them, worked along with us, and they would have benefited. The gold resources, the knowledge systems would have been enhanced further. Any kind of wealth would have been enhanced further from mutual cooperation on a win-win approach. This will be the mantra for not just the Indian subcontinent, but for the whole world. It must be on a win-win approach. No nation, no individual should feel despised, should be left out. The concept of a win-win approach will be the greatest of discovery in terms of human understanding that we can have for the future, because we will get to know that we are one with the source code of life, which makes us human. And that source code of life has given us the gift of creativity. And through the use of creativity, we will create win-win approaches for future in terms of negotiating the best deals, which does not deplete a person, a society, a country, but helps both individuals grow with the source code of life through creativity. Let's replenish our earth. In terms of human evolution, we understand and believe that we were born initially from an African area. The initial humans on earth were from the African region. And as per the evolutionary traits and studies, humans moved from Africa to different continents, also met with another evolving human species, Neanderthals, and then spread across the world. And then true culture, the cradle of true culture, began to evolve within the Indian Ocean region, the Indian subcontinent, which includes not just India but also the neighboring countries of India. The oldest of scriptures, the oldest of knowledge systems, which includes health, knowledge, cures for various ailments, the greatest of discoveries in terms of health, herbs, medicines, which is also called Ayurveda now, which was studied by the sages thousands of years ago, happened within the Indian subcontinent. The Vedas was a storage of knowledge of some of the greatest discoveries of humans, of the early humans. The Vedas gave a system of yoga so that people could keep their lives in balance. It gave a lot of knowledge about the scientific discoveries of the time, astronomy. It gave mythological representations of real events which happened. It gave medical systems, understanding different herbs, different plants, studying it, going through research and development in terms of formulations of medicine, which is known as Ayurveda as of today. Now we should understand that the Indian subcontinent was essentially the cradle of civilization, of evolution of humans into knowledge. After the Indian civilization, led by some of the greatest sages and their well-wishers, the kings of the time within the Indian subcontinent, information also moved into the Western societies. And then they took over. The Western societies took over in terms of science, technology, and evolution of knowledge, right from the 17th century till today. Some of the greatest scientific discoveries, mathematical calculations, was in synergy with the initial knowledge systems of the Indian subcontinent. And working on it, people within Europe, and specifically within the area of UK and Europe, developed science, technologies, new realms of knowledge, which included the steam engine, the wheel, the train systems, the initial concept of an aircraft, the Wright brothers, the evolution of electricity which powers each part of our lives today. And while these discoveries were happening, the cradle of civilization which gave knowledge was also being used by the Western powers. The kings of the Indian subcontinent were not stable enough, the defense systems were not good enough to protect the land, areas of the subcontinent. And the influence of different people trying to invade and use the energies and the goodness of the Indian subcontinent in terms of knowledge, in terms of its wealth, in terms of its specific abilities of cultivation of the greatest of spices, gold, diamonds. The Indian subcontinent over a period of time was divided into different states of small territories, and people who conquered the Indian subcontinent out of a carnal desire alone were able to create an infighting between the different states, and then they used up the Indian subcontinent for their own goodness. Now, this is not to blame anyone, because that is the instinct of the carnal self. And then the discoveries within the Western civilization began to develop. Now, within the West and across the world, people have started to recognize that when you move into a civilization which was very advanced, it is not just taking away from a civilization, it is moving and creating a win-win approach. Just imagine around 300 years back, instead of people, empires coming into the subcontinent of what we call as the area of the Hindu Kush and also the neighboring countries of India, which might cover a distance of 3,000 and 4,000 kilometers and more across the area of India. When people came in and took away the resources from the Indian subcontinent, which was the cradle of development over a period of 200 or 300 years, they did not recognize that, in some sense, they were depleting themselves of their own natural resources. They might have taken the gold, they might have taken the resources from the Indian subcontinent. But at the end of the day, where did all those resources go in its essence? On the other hand, if people who were conquering in terms of their mindset had a clear purpose on a win-win approach, if they moved into a society like an Indian subcontinent and helped it grow, evolve, and also created a trade system by which it was a win-win approach, the spices from India could move into the European territories and knowledge could come into the... should not have been a question of depletion of resources of one area and trying to nourish the resources of another area. That kind of thinking is no longer valid in today's world. We know that that kind of attitude, the attitude of trying to get into any business dealings, not just on an individual basis, not just on a society basis, but also on a national basis, must be only on a win-win approach. If people, if the kings, if the administrators within the European region had a better sense to work along with the energies of the earth than just follow the carnal sense of depleting people of the resources and trying to gain. They would have created a win-win approach by which the evolution of the Indian subcontinent would have helped them also in terms of trade, creating a bilateral system of trade, getting creative ideas so that the spices exported could be made in best form in the European area and then remarketed it to different parts of the world, or the best of garments, the best of cloth material could be exported from the Indian subcontinent and then created into much better aspects in terms of the design, in terms of the designer wear. So these are small aspects of ideas which could have been established during those times. The gold need not have been taken away from the continent to another place. It could have been a mutual system of development using the resources. But the kings of the time, the administrators of the time, followed the carnal approach. And where did all the wealth go? If all of the wealth which was taken from the Indian subcontinent was to be the richest source for the country taking it, where did all the wealth go? At the end of the day, it landed up with people whom we do not know about. There are representations in certain areas about the wealth which was taken. But essentially it was a foolish idea to deplete one country, nation, territory and try to enhance another country. Today we should understand that from the lessons of history, we should create win-win approach on an individual basis, win-win approaches on a society basis, win-win approach on country negotiation, and the source code of any kind of negotiation should be creativity. We are one as humans because we are creative. We are known as the human species because we have that touch with the source code of God, the source code of the life systems of our earth. And once we connect with the source code of life in our human interactions, in our societal interactions, in our national interactions, negotiations, it must be from a spirit of creativity, of mutual help, mutual benefit, not just for the present, but also for the future unborn generation. Let's replenish our earth. We must understand that the moment we are exclusively working for our carnal selves, exclusively working in terms of getting everything for our bodies alone, we're just like any other animals on earth. And many animals on earth fall for baits, And the easiest, fastest and the most surest form of falling for a bait is to go behind what has been projected at us as the most glamorous part of being a human in terms of getting enormous wealth. And it's one of the easiest baits to cast to people by the marketing companies, by the corporates. There's so many ideas being shown on the television screen. It comes on paper, it comes by word of mouth. It comes in terms of trying to satisfy yourself along with the objects and materials which your friends have or people whom you know have, without having a clear definition of your own life, of our own lives. The definition of a person's life can only be with a purpose. And that purpose can only have a meaning if it is with the source code of life. That is plain and simple. Anything that we do on earth, otherwise we will fall for baits, or we ourselves will become baits in the hands of people who are bigger than us, who are marketing to us, who are giving all kinds of information to us, and it's going down to our deep subconscious without a clear definition of your life, with a purpose. Your life will have no meaning in the work that you do. You will do everything from a point of view of trying to make money, wealth, and everything associated with it. But once the purpose is clear with the source code of life, then you have a meaning in what we do. And that meaning gives us the enthusiasm, it gives us the motivation, be it any kinds of troubles which comes in life, because your end goal is with the source code of life, which gives life to every living being on earth and our own oxygen. That purpose will motivate us no matter what problems come into our life, and those problems will turn into solutions. Let's replenish our earth. There was a prince around 200 years back, and he had a wonderful princess and a family. And even 200 years back, the world was marketing all kinds of information to the prince, but not with the latest of instruments and the latest of gadgets and the latest of information technology that we have today. It's not with the social media. It was usually with the word of mouth. It was usually through acquaintances. It was usually through when the prince traveled by himself or with his family. He came across different objects of desire. He came different objects of want. And he did not have a clear sense of direction in life in terms of the association of his life with the universal source code of life, which is his own oxygen. That sense did not prevail in his mind. He was also being conditioned to want everything for himself. So when he traveled to another kingdom, he started to vie for the kingdom's properties of another king. But on the other hand, there was another prince. He had his mind set with a clear purpose. He was also wealthy. Wherever he moved about, his desires was along with the universal source code of life, which meant that if he saw the most beautiful of rivers, he wanted to make sure that the aqua life was in the best of order there, so that when people fish, when the fishing boats of his kingdom fish, they will not overfish. They will maintain the aqua life to different species, so that every species has its life. No overfishing is done. If he moved into the forest, he made sure that there was a balance of all of the species of life. If he went out into his palaces, he made sure he had the best of gardens. His infrastructure was along with the best of trees, flowering fruits. He made sure the forests were one in sync with his kingdom and his priestly stature. 10 to 15 years passed. The prince, who was supposed to be the king, was all about his carnal desires, who was about himself alone, started to acquire a lot of objects, a lot of diamonds, gold. But all of those acquisitions was from a point of destruction, manipulative energy. He was using manipulation, he was using all kinds of trickery, he was using the force of his authority on his subjects to acquire, and also from other princes. He got into unnecessary wars. And over a period of time, there was a stronger kingdom, and the prince of another kingdom rose against his kingdom, and his kingdom was completely destroyed. And because of his carnal desires and the way he handled other kingdoms, the other king completely destroyed his kingdom and himself. On the other hand, the prince, who was with the source code of life, also established relationship with other kingdoms. He got married as a king, flourished as a king, and got himself married to so many other kingdoms. Now his marriage was not in sense of his carnal desires alone, but it was a form of bonding with other kingdoms to co-manage. His kingdoms flourished 100 times more than the prince who was bothered about himself alone. This is the clear definition of our lives for today and into the future. Anything that we do for ourselves alone is the surefire way of getting ourselves into the deepest pit. There are no two ways about it, because it is against the very wisdom of life. The wisdom of the source code of life is that you work in the present for the future, because there was an yesterday, today and tomorrow. If you're working in synergy with the universal force of life, which is the past, present and the future. In the present, when you are involved with work, when you're involved with companies, when you're involved with ideas, when you're involved with technology, which helps the future generation, you're not just contributing in the present or in the future, you're having a meaning in the essence of life. Let's replenish our earth.
When you take a picture with a camera, when we take a picture with a video camera, when we take a picture with any kind of object in terms of technology, it is an impression of that particular period of time which we want to etch in our memory. You might take the best of pictures and the best of cine failures. You might take the best of video experiences and the best of places. The programs that we see in terms of travel evoke memories of us being at that particular place in time. When you take a travel across the world or any particular place which we love and like and adore, or which we have a captivating vision of to visit, it is associated with the video or the photograph which gives us the urge to go, or in case we have already seen the place, it is the memories of the time that has been etched. In the same way as a photograph or a video, the same thought patterns kind of play within the human mind. And we should make sure that those memories have a meaning along with the source code of goodness of our universe, along with the oxygen that we breathe. The memories that we gather in terms of our travel, in terms of our associations, in terms of how we move about in life, and capture the memories either through a photograph, a video, or just within our memories, must be inspiring with the universal source of life. If we are going ahead with memories which work against the universal source of life, it will be those impressions of memories within our minds which is deviant from the source code of our own oxygen that we breathe. And those memories will lead us to bigger, depressive thoughts in life. It might be a joyous occasion which you experienced with the wrong people, whom you later look back and knew that they were not the right people for you, because they were not with the energies of their own oxygen. Let us make memories in our works, in our professions, in our companies, in any kind of field of work, be it the greatest of doctors, the engineers, the law enforcement officers, the judges, the politicians. Let our memories be etched in time in terms of how we worked for the present times in solving challenges of the people of today, for the society, for our country, for our earth. And in doing so, we have prospered on earth because the universal source of life had begun to bless our lives. These memories etched will be a source of inspiration for the future generations to come. Let's replenish our earth. There was a sage 3,000 years back, and he chose to live just outside the city in a kind of forested area which was not entirely a forest, but it was in the vicinity of a forest. His whole idea of being a sage was to find the essence of life. Now, the sage also was a businessman. It might be funny to us that a sage can be a businessman. He understood that living a life of a sage entirely, he had to be dependent on other people. And he did not want to be dependent on other people for his food. So he started a business which helped the natural causes of the earth. His business was one in sync with the energies of the earth which sustains life. All he did was, he found out areas within the forest and he took the best of mushrooms, which was healthy. He had the eye for taking the most healthiest of mushrooms and weeding out the ones which might cause problems in humans. He took out the best of mushrooms and he cultivated the best of mushrooms while he was in meditation. And during the end of the week, he would take it to an organic center within his city which he lived, which was close by to the forest where he was meditating. And he used to sell it there. He used to give it to the merchants and sell it. Now, being organic during those times, 3,000 years back, was the natural way of life. It was the natural way of cultivation. The organic content within the soil was at its primal best. The minute organisms which create life within a soil. The essence of a soil's quality was in the produce, which was not just mushrooms. He grew different kinds of germinating seeds and plants, by which we call sprouts today. And it was all within the area which he was meditating. He built the best of natural systems around the place, which included the gardens, the flowers, the trees. He created an area which was an abode for helping him meditate, but also he could term it as a business for himself to do better at meditation along with the source good of life. He did not need to be dependent on people to give him food or give him certain essential essence of life which helped him in his field of work. His field of work was to meditate and find the truth about life. And the basic truth of his life was around his surroundings, was around the place he lived, the germinating sprouts, the mushrooms which he had an eye for the best quality and healthy mushrooms, the plants, the flowers, the trees which bore fruits. With his consideration, his meditation also was a dedication to his cause, to be along with all of the species of the plant, animal, and the life that he had created in terms of his business, the sprouts, the fruit-bearing trees, plants, vegetables. And he made sure that his produce was the best along with this meditation. This should be the example of the fields of work that we get into. We do the best in terms of our work ethic, be it the doctor, be it the surgeon, be it the greatest of judges, the best of law enforcement officers, from the training stage to the highest in terms of command of the officer level, the best of politicians, or any field of work from the strata of society. We must dedicate ourselves to doing the best in terms of our connection with the universal force of life, which provides us with the basic goodness of the energy systems all around us. When we work with the greatest of technologies, the greatest of scientific discoveries, the scientists, not with a sense of trying to make a name for oneself,
The best way by which you can establish yourself within this world and also be recognized is for your dedication within your work without being looking at the prize. When your first and foremost concern is your dedication to your field of work, prize and recognition follows. Let's replenish our earth. In the years into the future, people will have a lot of time to know more about the beings, the goodness of themselves as a human being, and they will be able to take time off and also create businesses along with the basic systems, their understanding about life, about the energy systems of life all around us, which keeps us alive, which keeps us thriving, which helps us prosper as humans, as also with other species of life, which is a gift of the eternal source of the universe for us humans, a gift from all of our faiths. Now, 700 years into the future, there was a family who worked with the energies of the earth. They had an estate within the area which they lived. The estate was around 30 acres of land. And although it's not a big estate, as we see in certain areas of the world today, it was enough for the family, and within that estate, there are the best species of life, of plants, of trees, of animals. And into the future, with the latest of technologies, the greatest of supercomputers, the greatest of technologies which help humans evolve into the future, they were able to create the best of life systems all around them, along with the businesses that they were involved in. This family was into farming of basic organic farming. Even 700 years into the future, humans had moved from chemical fertilizers and were able to use the best of biofertilizers, which had the basic systems of life, the small organisms, the microorganisms within the soil, which provided the most nourishing aspect of a soil, was also 700 years into the future recognized as the best quality of soil for any kind of product produced by humans. They had biosystems by which they could cultivate plants. Everything was managed by a robust quantum computer system which looked into the fertilization of the soil organically, which helped the plants get the right kind of nutrition, which included water and every kind of nutrition for the best quality of fruits, vegetables, the best kind of environment for the life systems, which included the animals. There was an ecological balance within that estate from the animals which were a kind of companion to humans. The animals were not looked after as a number, as we see in certain areas of the world today. The animals were a companion to humans in the sense that they would help the natural life of their estate. Now, this kind of technology into the future is with the source code of life, with our thinking moving into the future. Let all of our technologies which help us in terms of our business, in terms of the areas where we cultivate, in terms of agriculture, in terms of estates, spice estates, any kind of estate which provides the basics of food systems, the basics of spices, the basics of fruits, which includes apples, grapes, oranges, vegetables like carrot, beans, onion. All of these vegetables which we use on a daily life. These systems of agriculture, these systems of farming, these systems of managing estates for the well-being of humanity, not just from a point of focus on profit, but from a purpose of serving the source good of life, will be the mantra for health, wealth and spiritual wellness. Let's replenish our earth. Let us not give importance to too much on the words of certain psychics, on the words of certain people who project a lot of doom and gloom for the world. And then we try to give importance to their forecasts. We must understand that everything about the future of the world is about the inner subconscious of the majority of the people on earth. If the inner subconscious of the earth vibrates along with the energies of the earth will have a brighter future. The moment we start to give a lot of weight to predictions of doom and gloom for the world, and once it gets into the subconscious of the majority of humans, that's where the subconscious of the mindset of the majority of the humans on earth will lead to, because we are in sense blessed with that ability to create our future. Let our thinking, let our mindset, let our dreams, let our vision be along with the energies of the earth, which sustains life, which enhances life, which brings prosperity to humans in terms of our thinking, in terms of our vision, in terms of our understanding of the future. In doing so, we will move our mindset along with the source code of goodness of the same oxygen that we breathe. The oxygen that we breathe does not want us to have a bad life. It is giving life to every living being on earth. The water that we drink, which is again oxygen, is providing the life source for every living being on earth. Our brains, which is 96% water, is keeping our systems in focus, alive, all of our cells functioning, all of the aspects of our human life functioning along with the source code of life. Let our thinking be with the goodness of the universe, the scientific discoveries, the quantum computers, the advanced general intelligence, which will develop over time, must be along with the source code of the goodness of the smallest children on our earth today. They must live a life into the future which helps them prosper and evolve into great citizens who work with the future of their future generations. And in doing so, their lives on earth are blessed today. Let the evolution of discoveries be with the basics of life of our earth, which keeps us alive, which keeps us moving towards an era of prosperity. Let's replenish our earth. The dirtiest of dirt is cleansed by the best quality of cleaning acid. The most treacherous of people who have a mind of a snake is countered by the same species of snake which might be larger. The venom of a snake, when it is diluted and used in its essence, is countered to use the venom against the snake's bite on humans, which means that the snake's venom itself, when it's diluted and given as an antidote, then it provides life. It saves the life of an individual bitten by a snake. So in the same way, we must replenish our earth and counter vermin energies which affects the oxygen that we breathe, the water that we drink. With the same energy, we cannot keep talking about goodness and then have snakes and other
vermin energies acting on us, and we must have defenses. And as we mentioned before, the defense of a country is that dark energy which can fight against snakes. It's that same venom of a snake which is used to counter the bite of a snake. It's the same energy of a vermin which is used to counter the vermin energies. We cannot counter a vermin energy with any other energy. It has to be countered with the same energy, and that's where the defense arises. That's where the weapons of defense of a country for its protection lies. That's where the law enforcement takes hold of vermin energies and puts them in the right track, in the right places, so that the majority of people can live along with their energies of the own oxygen, which gives them life, with the life-nourishing water, the clean and clear water, and all of the energy systems, not just for the present generations, but also for the future generations. Let's replenish our earth. Let's be very clear, be with the source code of life of our earth, being with the energy systems of the earth which provides life to every living being, and working for the energies of the universe which help our earth evolve, prosper, along with its citizens, the human beings, the animals, the plants, the birds, and all species of life. We as humans have been given the only privilege of being with the source code of life in terms of creativity. Now let's understand that being with the source code of life is not about sacrificing anything in our worldly lives. It's about being with the creative energies of the earth which provides us with life. And that creative energy has given us the intellect and the knowledge. And we use this intellect and the knowledge for the benefit of the future generations in the work that we do in all kinds of fields of employment, fields of thinking, ideas, creativity in terms of companies that we work in any field of work, be it art, science, be it the greatest of technological fields. We must understand that we're not sacrificing anything. We're not having a tough life to be with the source code of life. In fact, we'll have the best of life once we respect the own oxygen that we breathe, the life system which keeps every cell of our being alive. We are empowered. We are not sacrificing our lives on earth for a higher cause. We are moving with the energies of the earth and being blessed enormously with the higher cause of working for the future generations to help their lives evolve for the better, to create the best systems of life for the future of our earth and the future of every unborn child. Let's replenish our earth.